It's an exciting time at Vermillion High School as the end of the basketball season gets closer and the postseason also begins. It is also that time of year where the other winter sports continue to wrap up, as we saw the gymnastics team a couple weeks ago in the state tournament. Congratulations once again to the gymnastics team on their individual performances. And of course, coming up this weekend, we get set for wrestling, the state wrestling tournament coming out in Rapid City Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it has been a fun season, a very young team, a growing experiences for the Coach Gary Culver and his group. But once again, we have more state qualifiers. This year, Vermillion is taking 4 out to Rapid City. And with the help of Coach Gary Culver, we were able to sit down with all 4 state qualifiers that include Michael Robe, Raleigh French, Patrick Fulton, and also Caleb Emerson, as all 4 of those made it to state this year. We also caught up with the Coach Gary Culver talking about the craziness of this week with the weather situation that is moving in and his expectations for the 4 guys. If you missed out on our conversation from Monday, here it is once again as we caught up with all 4 state qualifiers and the Coach Gary Culver. Joined with Michael Robe here, getting ready for wrestling, big state tournament that is coming up this weekend. Michael, looking back at your season so far, of course, when I'm talking to Gary Culver throughout this season, you were always one of the favorites to make it, have a chance at going to state. Going into this season, what was kind of your perspective, your chances of going to state, what you thought you were capable of this year?
Going in, I just was hoping to make it to state for one, and then when I get there, beat how I did last year, so beat 5th place. It's a lot to ask, but, I mean, it was just the goal this year going in.
We'll talk more about trying to get into beating better than 5th place. As the season moves along, you have a phenomenal season. You rack up 30 wins along the way, only 8 losses. Were you happy with your performance this season? What'd you think of that overall?
Yeah, I was pretty happy. There were some matches, obviously, that I felt I could have done a little bit better and maybe pulled out the win, but for the most part, yeah, it was pretty good.
Going back to last Friday now, going to Brandon Valley, making that early morning trip, if you will, up there, going into the region tournament. You know it's all there to play for your chance to try to make it onto the state tournament. How are you feeling?
I was a little nervous. Don't get me wrong. I was there, but I knew that I had pretty good chances. My seed, I got 2 seed, or no, yeah, I got 2nd seed. So, yeah, I was going to meet the 1 seed in the finals. It was going to be a tough match, but came out with a loss on that one, but he's probably a state champ.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with what you're capable of doing. You do have, before even that last match, you know at that point you are into the state tournament once again. What was that feeling like, making it back?
Felt good, and I talked to our assistant coach, Coach Kyle Yazgar. I told him, hey, it's a good season. We're still going. I made it to state, and he smiles, laughs at me. He goes, yes, you did.
Well, yeah, this season continues on, and I look at a lot of these matchups that you have coming up for all the wrestlers before they make it on. Connor Simisosma from West Central. Have you wrestled him yet this season? Do you know much about him?
Yes. Before I dropped to 138, I was wrestling at 145, and I wrestled him the very first tournament of the year. I beat him in the championship to get 1st place, and I think I can do it again. So.
Going with these 4 guys, how does it feel going back to another state tournament and trying to make it through before all this weather hits?
It feels good. Kind of anxious, though, you know, changing plans, having to move up there a day early, but I'm ready.
Well, you mentioned as well, you want to be better than 5th. And for right now, we'll look at the top half of the bracket. As you mentioned, Alex Metzler is number 1 overall, of course, undefeated so far this season. If you want to get better than number 5, you're eventually going to run into him. But what do you like your matchup in that top half of the bracket? Do you think you can get better than 5?
I do. The first guy I got, like I said, I've wrestled him before, beat him. The second round, I mean, I obviously can't look past these matches.
Right.
I've wrestled most of the people in this bracket, so, and I've won them, so it seems pretty good.
Well, Michael, best of luck. Go get them, all right?
Thank you.
Joining here now on the pregame show, the proud Rick Fulton, as we continue our conversation with wrestling, making it onto the state tournament. Mr. Fulton, wrestling at the weight of 145. You finished the season 14-18 overall. As Coach Culver has said, you are the youngster of the bunch. Didn't know maybe what could happen with this season. Certainly took your ups and downs along the way. How'd this season go for you?
Honestly, I think it was definitely a growth year, but I think it went good. It was a fun year.
Now, I've had my chance to cover a few of these different state tournaments, or I should even say just tournaments this past season, and one thing I've always noticed is your father's extremely passionate about these events. Of course, just seeing that love for him. How much has your father been an influence on you this season?
I mean, he's always been there for me, ups and downs, like you said. It's just been fun to have him there.
Well, you continue to get ready for a big wrestling meet, the state tournament. First off, getting to the state tournament. You're maybe one of the surprise ones, if you will. Did you think you could make the state tournament as such a youngster?
This season, it was definitely one of my goals again. I couldn't tell you before I saw the bracket, but I think, no, I didn't think I could.
Well, you make it on, and going back to last Friday in Brandon Valley, you find out that you are making it on to the state tournament. How great did that feel?
It felt great. It was awesome.
You get ready, though. You probably draw one of the worst-case scenarios. You get to see Boonstra from Dakota Valley, a player that you have gotten to see several different times. Take us through what Jackson's capable of doing, and what do you think about drawing that matchup right away?
It's not great, but I think, like I said, this is definitely a growth year. 8th graders, 7th graders aren't really supposed to be in the state tournament. It'll just be fun to be there.
Yeah, I say just fun to be there as an 8th grader. What's your biggest takeaway going into this state tournament that you really want to just try? I mean, yes, try your best at. That's obvious, but what's one of the biggest takeaways you want from this experience?
Just more wrestling, getting more matches under my belt, and having a fun time.
Well, hey, go have some fun. Let's see what we can do at state, all right?
All right, thanks.
Caleb Emerson joins us as we continue on talking with our state qualifiers for wrestling at the weight of 152. Caleb Emerson. Caleb, you are the go-to leader this year. You are the main senior of this squad, if you will, coming into this year. That was a lot of Gary Culver talked about. A lot of seniors or maybe older guys that had experience that didn't stick out wrestling this year. You were one that did. Why did you continue on wrestling, and what makes it so fun for you to come back each and every year?
I don't know. I've been doing it since I was a little kid, so senior year got to come out.
I say it's in the blood. Well, going into this year as a senior, did you know what to expect? Did you have any big goals that you wanted to accomplish? I mean, of course, yes, state was obvious, but was that one of the main goals that you saw yourself this year?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to place or make it to state this year and hopefully place.
Well, 19-20 overall. You certainly have your ups and downs throughout this season. Going throughout it all, even including we had our chance to cover you the other week, and you were out with injury. What has the season been like going through the roller coaster that you have been on?
It's had its up and downs. There's been some high points and some lows.
Well, you do get your chance to make it. How great did it feel?
It's nice. First one ever.
Well, now you get ready for a tough Carter Doney from Rapid City Stevens. Of course, someone you really haven't seen yet this season. How do you prepare for someone like that you haven't seen all year long?
Just practice hard, prepare for whatever he can do.
Well, it's going to be a quick turnaround. The state wrestling tournament is coming up on Thursday. How excited are you to go with these three guys and just enjoy that time in Rapid City?
I'm pretty excited. It should be a pretty good experience.
Joined with Raleigh French as we continue on spotlighting our four seniors who have made it on to the state tournament. Last up on our list is Raleigh French coming at the weight of 182. Raleigh, you were one of the huge favorites this year, if you will, of getting back to a state tournament. Expectations for yourself. Did you feel any pressure of knowing that you were one of the favorites ranked throughout the year? How was that pressure on you for this season?
There was a little pressure, obviously, but I feel like I could be able to hopefully place at state and be able to show people that I can actually do this, and I'm somewhat good at the sport I do.
Well, you certainly proved that. 24 wins on this season. You also kind of fall yourself in that unique situation as well. You pick up an injury to the chin at one point this season. That wrestling is going to come with injuries. Ever expect anything, something that happened to your chin this year?
No, I probably wouldn't have seen that one coming for a while, because this is my first ever injury that's taken me out of varsity sports just in general. So it was kind of a setback, but once that was all healed and good, I haven't had any problems since.
Well, speaking of that, how was that kind of time off? Because this is a weird injury, right? You have a chin injury that just means you can't have a lot of head movement, if you will, with other wrestlers, but you can still kind of just practice on air. How was that feeling knowing you couldn't wrestle, but you still could practice?
It was good, but I couldn't practice. The doctor said I had to do no contact until I got the stitches out, and then once those were out, there were still a couple days where I still couldn't do any contact. So it was a good break, to say the least.
Well, you come back from that break, continue on strong this season. Going into the region tournament last week, again, you're a heavy odds-on favorite. What were your expectations going into that?
I mean, getting first, but that one didn't turn out too well. Kind of had a rough day, but it happens. Move on.
Hey, as a sophomore, eventually you make it onto the state tournament. How does that feel as the sophomore?
It was good. It's always fun to get back up at Rapid, and then there was last year at Sioux Falls, but still always fun. Get to go up there with my friends.
Well, 24-6 as you enter, you seem like you're going to be one of the favorites, but your first-round matchup is Chance Sarda from Pierre. Have you seen Chance at all yet this season?
Yes, I saw him at the Yankton Invite a week or two ago. He pinned me in the second period, caught me in a fat man's roll, but hopefully I can not let that one happen again and wrestle good with him.
Yeah, so what are the expectations that you have on yourself when going to state?
At least place. Make it to the third round, if not anything. Be able to just go out there and compete.
Well, you get to compete with three other great guys. How exciting is it to go with those guys and, of course, with Coach Culver?
It's always a blast going up there with them.
Well, it should be fun. Go get them, all right?
Thank you.
Well, Coach Culver, I know I caught up with you on Friday after the entire, regional tournament was over with. As you mentioned, great result from your guys, 4 guys. You mentioned you were happy with that as well because you didn't quite know the expectations of what were going to come with it. Now you get ready for this state tournament. How do you do this? Water main break. You have a snowstorm that's coming in. And now a whole entire expectations. You have to move everything around. Yeah. What's this past few days been like getting ready these 4 wrestlers?
Yeah, well, we just, as I noted to you, we just had practice this afternoon, so I had to get a text out, bring your own water here today. Water main broke, but we're going to have practice here today. Basketball games moved to the CSC, so our interview, I'm going to take you 4 guys with me so we make sure you get it all done right now and not lose any in the course of events.
Trip, right?
Yeah, and then, of course, as you mentioned, Mother Nature has again reared her ugly head here and forced us to leave a day earlier than anticipated. From all the things I've seen here today, we're okay through tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're leaving at like 1. We're having a practice at 10, leaving about 1. And I think, a 6-hour drive, gaining an hour out there with mountain time kind of puts us about where we want to be. And I think, things are going to be all right. The last I've seen, Winter Storm Watch starts in Rapid at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So that to me, that says, well, we're going to be all right then on this deal. But Wednesday, I think everything's going to be closed down in South Dakota, except the state wrestling tournament because people will be there. So
as long as you're out there.
Yeah.
Quickly before I let you go here, you get to see the brackets released.
Correct, yeah.
I don't know. What is your thought? Because I see some of these tough matchups.
Yeah,
here.
Absolutely. You're correct in that regard. That's just the way it is. Michael Robe, pretty good. We were hoping for a 3. Staying away from Menster, but we aren't. We're 4th seed, and we're thinking, you got to wrestle each match anyway, so we'd face him in the semis, and who knows, anything can happen. injuries occur, concussions occur. We've wrestled them at least once now. Now we know some things. So anything can occur there. And, we just got to be ready when that happens. Our other 3 guys, we're kind of throwing in there. Raleigh had that tough region and, just probably didn't fare very well, which hurt him a little bit. But he has wrestled that Rapid City kid at the Yankton Invite. That Sarda is, we feel, a better match maybe for him than the West Central Sarda, who's on the other side of the bracket. So, again, we'll feel good about things there. Hopefully a win. If you get a win there, wow, some big things can happen. And then Caleb and Padraig, they're at their weight classes, 145 Padraig, 152 Caleb. As you were interviewing Padraig, of course, he runs into Booney right away here. Yeah. Tough wrestler, and at least he's wrestled him though. And if you've wrestled somebody, you kind of know a little bit more about him. So again, anything can happen. And then Caleb, has a tough draw there, but it just boils down to wrestling one match at a time. If you win 2 before you lose 2, you're on the podium somewhere. Yep. You know that. So that's why you got to get 2 matches together, at least out of 3 there, that put you on the podium somewhere. And we're hoping that'll occur. But, again, we'll have some time out there, of course, going out a day earlier. Although we'll get out in the evening, and by that time we'll get to bed. And we got to get up the next day. And they changed the practice. They were not going to have anybody practice in the summit at the monument as it's snowing out there. But now they've opened it up from 3 to 7 p.m. on Wednesday for practices. So that's good in that regard. We were a little concerned about that. And Kyle Yazgar, our assistant, has some connections, with Rapid City Central. And, he knows guys there as the wrestling world, goes. So we thought we'd get in. But they were saying, you can't go to Rapid City Central or Stevens or anything. Don't even check. But they have opened it up now. So we'll get that in there, which will help in terms of, especially watching weight. Some guys, especially Michael down there, we're trying to watch that weight and those kind of things as you do in wrestling, and that's just part of the whole nature of the beast there in the sport.
It certainly is. Yep. Coach Culver, we're going to say best of luck to you. Yeah. Of course, a safe travel. Yeah. And let's see if we can't bring home some place winners. All right. We're hoping to get 4 guys on the podium by Friday evening. So we hope that's what will happen. But, again, one match at a time, as they say. And we appreciate your coverage of us and interviewing these guys. And I hope they get a good job. I didn't listen to them there. But, just 4 great individuals. Yes, absolutely. We have a youngster, an 8th grader, a senior, and then the 2 sophomores squeezed in between there, so a good combination of everything there. Go get them, Coach. All right, thanks. Once again, that was the Coach Gary Culver and also our 4 state qualifiers for wrestling, as we wish them the best of luck on their performance coming up at the state tournament. Again, they will be participating coming up this Thursday, Friday. It should be a great time. Again, if you missed the matchups, Michael will be taking on Connor Simasosma from West Central. That's a good first-round matchup for Michael. At the weight of 152, Caleb Emerson is going to be taking on Cordoni from Rapid City Stevens. That certainly will be a tough matchup for Caleb Emerson in the first round. Podrick Fulton will be taking on Jackson Boonstra from Dakota Valley. Once again, those 2 have met up a couple different times. Jackson, one of the top wrestlers as a sophomore at the weight class of 145. And then finally at the weight class of 182, it'll be Raleigh French taking on Chance Sarda from Pierre. Another tough draw for the Vermillion boys. But look forward to all of the fun and coverage and action that will be happening at the state wrestling. By the way, if you would like to watch the state wrestling tournament, you can find it all on South Dakota Public Broadcasting, as they will have the coverage Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we'll catch up with the wrestlers and the Coach Gary Culver coming up next week, as we'll relive and revisit what happened at the state tournament. Thanks again for tuning in as we enjoy all the coverage of our state qualifiers. And again, thank you to the Coach Gary Culver for making the interviews happen.